And we are live. Hello and welcome to the We All Follow podcast. My name is Matt Fox and I am your host. Today, I wanted to start with a solemn note. We want to remember Super Kevin Campbell. You know, there's been a lot said in the media about his passing over the last couple days. Um, the one thing that everybody has said was about how much he gave to others, about how much time, how much energy, always propping up others, always showing up for others. And that's a spirit that we just really wanted to take a second. An Arsenal legend, Arsenal was his boyhood club. Obviously, he played throughout the Premier League and abroad as well, and became a legend for several clubs. And there's really not that many players who can go and play for several clubs and who can be adored at all of those clubs equally. A very unique man with a very giving spirit. So rest in peace, Kevin Campbell. Super Kev, you will definitely be missed. Today, our guests, we have Nigel Bratton, the man whose networking is the envy of IT professionals. How you doing, Nigel?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. All the way from France. So I'm sorry if there's any background noise, but I'm currently in. I need to give them a plug because they've given me free use of our Wi-Fi. So I'm in the Globetrotter in Türkiye. Top.
All right, live from France. And also, we have the man, the scout, who has Todd Bowley looking over his shoulder, Ben Mattinson. Welcome back, Ben.
Hello. He's in the back of the room over there. I've locked him in a cage, so hopefully not. But yeah, no,
Better be careful,
I'm just at
man.
home. No, I'm just at home, not in France. But yeah, I'll be in Brazil tomorrow. I think the day after that, Argentina. Day after that, probably at the Euros in Germany. Yeah, so go on a bit of a tour. So but it's what it is.
You got to do it. You know what I mean? We got to catch up to Nigel's networking. It's the least that we can do. So today we're here to talk about Euro 2024. We have match day 1 recap. So we had some awesome matches. We had we'll start on the first couple days. So we had Germany, Scotland. So if you're listening on audio, I'll read out the names and the scores. So Germany 5, Scotland 1, Hungary 1, Switzerland 3, Spain 3, Croatia 0, Italy 2, Albania 1, Poland 1, Netherlands 2, Slovenia 1, Denmark 1, Serbia 0, and England 1. Nigel, what was the best game? What brought you the most joy out of match day 1, the first couple days?
So, I mean, the Germany result. I mean, we'd said in the preview podcast that if Germany got an early goal, the one that was the one thing what Scotland couldn't allow. If Germany got an early goal, they could just run riot, and they did. And it was proven that everything what we spoke about is you have to keep it tight. You've got to keep it tight in that early period because if not, Germany get their tails up and then the bang, 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 and it's Wirtz and it's Musiala and it's Havertz and it's chaos. The one game what out of them ones what actually surprised me the most, Croatia. Croatia. Spain looked like a young team who got a lot going for them, and all of a sudden Croatia looked like a very, very, very old team with nothing going for them. And I think we're going to see. I think Croatia's golden generation has gone. It's passed.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. Ben, what stood out for you out of these first set of games?
Yeah, I'd say the same game that Spain Croatia won. Interesting how I think the expected goals, they were quite similar. I think they were both 2 point something. So it was one of those where the score made it look a lot worse, but they definitely, like, Spain were definitely the better team out of the two. And you've got like two ends of the spectrum like that. The other games were interesting. Definitely So yeah, some familiar faces doing really well, like Xhaka for Switzerland had a really good game against Hungary. And to be honest, Hungary thought they would be a bit more up for it in that game. But yeah, the Switzerland were just a lot better than them. But the Italy Albania one was one I was interested about because I thought Albania, they might be able to get something in some of these, although they've got such on paper, it looks like they will lose every game. They've got really solid defense, and throughout the whole team, so many players, that passion and togetherness, and it makes you feel like sometimes in tournaments they can get a bit of an upset. So when they got the early goal, I was like, well, maybe, but I think it's almost too early. Sometimes I feel like if you get a goal within the first like minute or two, that's it. Like, you're probably just gonna sit back, try and hold on for the whole game, when the other team will go and get one. So, but yeah, some interesting results, but a lot was quite. Apart from that Spain one, I'd say they're all quite predictable. To be honest, I think from these lot, anyways. I mean,
Yeah, I think it's interesting because the Croatia one, like you said, Croatia ended up having more of the ball, which obviously has to do some part with game state, right? When you're down a couple goals, you tend to sit back, or the other team will tend to sit back and give you the ball. But you were right. The XG was 2.38 to Croatia and 2.01 for Spain. There was, you know, it was an interesting game. I never really felt like Croatia was gonna win it, if I'm being honest. You had some really amazing performances by the teenager, which is mad Yamal, Lamine Yamal, the 16-year-old, which is just crazy. Like, can we just give a second to recognize how ridiculous it is that he came in and performed the way he did? Because that's not normal, right? And I think like in our day and age, like we look at like because we're so online and we're all on Twitter all the time, and we hear about these players from when they're 12 and 13, like we think that it's normal, but it's not normal for a 16-year-old to come into the Euros and to light it up, and not to just like look like he's here to participate, but to be bossing the game. That was super special. And yeah, the Germany Scotland game, it was a rough watch, to be honest. Like we had talked about making it out of the first 15 minutes, and Scotland had some pretty decent defensive actions there at the beginning, and then you get that first goal 9 minutes in, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be a long night. And it was a really long night for Scotland. And I'm glad that Gundogan did not get his leg broken, because that was super scary. Watching that two-footed challenge, like that was proper Brexit level challenge. The two-footed in the box, studs up right into the shin. So I'm glad that he's okay. Um, yeah. Any other performances that stood out? I thought there was an interesting performance from Ericsson in the Denmark game. What did you think, Nigel?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you mentioned about Lamine Yamal being a young player. If you look through all of the games, through game day one, and we're going to touch on some of the ones from Monday and Tuesday later on, a lot of young players really, really stood out. In the first game, Germany versus Scotland, Florian Wirtz stood out by a mile. Kai Havertz, I'd still class him as a young player, stood out. Jamal Musiala stood out. When you got into Spain, Lamine Yamal stood out. Yeah, and there was other ones in the other game as well. Especially, I mean, the Netherlands, they were kind of led by young players. Xavi Simons, Cody Gakpo. I mean, I know Gakpo's goal was a bit deflected and stuff, but they were kind of led by them, and it kind of you saw it all the way through, especially when we got into the Monday Tuesday games, and there was more youngsters getting involved. England was completely dominated by three youngsters. Three youngsters dominated that game, and one of them, Bukayo Saka. The second one, Jude Bellingham, what I thought was immense in that game. And the third one for me was Mark Guehi. I thought Mark Guehi was brilliant for England. Another young player, defender, who's got a big future in front of him. So that young line link kind of it went through all the games really from start to finish.
Yeah, and we didn't even that was the amazing part of this set of matches, right? Is like we talked and we didn't even mention the England game. Ben, what was your takeaways from the England-Serbia match?
Oof, few different things. Firstly, Saka, what a player, man! Like seriously, the first half he was like untouchable. Every time he got the ball, something was going to happen. And he kind of the second half they started to double up on him a bit more. Didn't get as many chances. But that probably 60 minutes or so was just like top. And then for me, it's the stuff with Bellingham. Like the thing I like about him is it's not that he's the best player technically. He's obviously very, very good technically, but it's the mentality, like the way. It was talking someone before saying about how when since he's been at Real Madrid, the type of there was a thing when he got in a little scrap with like two players and one got in his face and he's like this, and he did a thing once when they he ran and did like a dummy and then did like the matador thing with a flag. I'm like, this guy is just so confident and then backs it up. Right, it's just so good to watch because you get it's just entertaining, and I think people really downplay like the football league, but I think coming through there at such a young age has really like toughened them up. Because if you look at like German league is great and it's high intensity and end to end stuff, but in terms of the physicality, I would probably say the championship's even more physical. There's some big challenges constantly, and like we're talking, he went up against some guys like Rooney at the end of his career and stuff like that, so there's still a lot of quality in there as well. But yeah, I think when you watch him, I look at him like there's someone that can make a difference in the big games. It's not just these games, but like if you're against France or Germany or whoever late on in a tournament, you feel like Bellingham could step up. And there's a lot that do really well for the club or when it comes to their country that don't seem to match it. One of the takeaways I'd say was about Trent is I'm not sure how I feel about this midfield situation. I thought a lot about how if he's going to play next to Rice, you'd want him to be almost like just stay deep, don't try and push forward, just stay deeper and spray the passes. But the only issue with that is it's the awareness positionally. You look at someone like Kroos for Germany, he does that so well, but it's taken him a while to get that. You don't just naturally have that awareness. It comes from a lot of experience of playing in midfield. And I don't think Trent's got that just yet. So it's quite risky. But Rice coming from well. And, yeah.
Nigel, how much do you think that is of coaching, right? Because we look at the way that Kroos plays and that kind of deep lying midfield role. He drops into the back. He's always facing upfield. And that was something that the Sadio guys were talking about was how Kroos is what the problem with Trent is that he's coming back and facing away from the goal, and Kroos is always getting the ball with the full picture of the field. So how much is that experience? How much is that it's coaching? How much is that like what do you think the balance is in there?
I'm gonna say it straight. Trent's a defender who is moonlighting as a midfielder. Should never happen. I'm sorry, but you're talking about a player. You're talking about a player who works week in, week out in a defensive position, and he's now being asked to play a completely different role. Yes, it's all right. It's all right having a right back invert into midfield week in, week out. You can train that because he knows where his position is, where he should be defensively. He knows where his position should be, where he's got the ball. Yeah, but you're asking him to move where he starts. This is huge. It's not something that I really. If we want to get Trent into the team, you need to drop either Guerre or Stones, and you play Walker as a centre back. You play Stones or Guerre as the other centre back. you play Trippier as a left back, and you play Trent as a right back. If you want him to play there, he can invert. Personally, I wouldn't touch the back four. I'd leave the back four as it is. I'd drop Trent out, and I'd put Adam Wharton in there and play as a traditional two. Do you know what? I actually rate Trent as a player. I think anyone who can play two positions like he can and play as good, to be fair, play as good as what he can, but he going forward is a great player. And people really pick up on his defensive frailties when actually defensively he's not that bad. He's just susceptible to a certain. If you look at it, it's only really when he plays against real pace that he suffers. Martinelli's cooked him a few times, hasn't he, when he's played against him. But I just think we've got to play a midfielder in there. And would you? I mean, the question is, would you play a Kai Havertz at centre back? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't play Kai Havertz at centre back.
You'd play him at left back though.
Well, we tried that and that didn't work either, did it? Yeah. So he's crazy. I mean, imagine me uproar if Mikel Arteta came out on a Saturday in the season and said, "I'm going to play Jorginho at right back."
Yeah, no, I get it. Like it's absolutely playing him out of position, but I have a feeling that some of that could be alleviated by a proper technical coach who's moving the players. Like, I mean, even you saw during the game, Foden and I sent it in the group chat. There was a map of the average position of the players, right? And Foden and Harry Kane are on the same dot. So, like, is that coaching?
I'm going to go back to international, right? An international coach shouldn't be coaching players. An international coach should be getting his players to play in his system, and his system should be the predominant system of the players what he's chosen. He shouldn't be having to retrain players to play in these positions, because when you're picking a squad of 26, you should have picked players what play the positions what you want to play in. That's simple. That is simple. Yeah. It's not on Gareth Southgate to retrain Trent to play in a position. You should pick a player who already plays in that position and can play it. You've got 26 players to pick from. Do it correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that circles back to like what is the Southgate system, right? Which I'm not sure if any of us have quite figured out since he's been in charge, right? But at the end of the day, right? Like whatever your system is, you have to make in-game adjustments. When Foden and Kane are standing in the same spot, when Saka made that cross and they both made the center run, right? If I can see it at home, there's no reason the person sitting on the bench, who's allegedly a professional, shouldn't see the same thing, right? And say, hey, Phil, either you come and sit out here in the wing, or I got to take you off, or switch it on some level to adjust for what's going on. What did you see as it pertains to the left side of the attack of the England attack, Ben?
Yeah, I think part of the issue was when we've got right-footed left back, he can stay wide, but to really be able to play the first time cross, and he's just not as comfortable on his left foot. It really, you then need a winger who's going to stay wide and hold the width, because then you don't have any width. And what kept happening was you had who else was in midfield? So you had on that side Rice, who's obviously right-footed, and then you had Trippier and he's obviously right-footed, and then Foden, who was being allowed to drift all the way right at the beginning. He was literally right near Saka, who's like the two of them were really close. And I get why you'd give someone like that more freedom to roam, but you'd more do that if he was a number 10, not the winger, because when you already don't have an out-and-out left back, it just ruins the whole dynamic on that side. And so often I was looking at it like, this would work well if we had Shaw fit, but because he's not, I feel like you have to go with a different type of winger who can stay wide. Maybe it's a Gordon or someone like that. But yeah, it's interesting. I think what we should do with Trent is to actually play him back at right back and play the old system that Klopp played, where he would just go down the line rather than inverting, because he's not done that for very long. And then if you think of Rice as like your Fabinho type, when he would cover for Trent, that's the big thing. He used to have Fabinho and Henderson who would cover for him, and now he doesn't, so he gets exposed more. And I think if you've got a double pivot of Rice and Wharton, that they can cover for him quite well, and you still get his quality on the ball without the risk. I think he's just too good to not involve, and we've not really used him much. So there's two big issues there, Foden and Trent. It's like, how can you get the best of them? And if we can, then I think we'll do really well.
Yeah, I think what I saw was like there was a couple of issues, but there was like there was probably like 3 major issues, right? But there was also ways that you could solve at least like 2 of them, right? And so I don't think that they necessarily have the ability to solve all of the issues, but if you can in game solve several of them, 2 of the 3, then you should be in a good position, right? Like you could have taken off Foden for Gordon, who would stand out there, right? You could have taken off Kane for, if you wanted to leave Foden on, you could have taken off Kane for Bowen, which would have been controversial, but Bowen's gonna stretch the play more and run in behind, right? And you could have done something different on the right side with Trent so that he's in a better position, like you said. So like the problem to me is that he didn't do any of those things, right? And so when you're looking at, like, we can all see the problems and you're not taking any actions, it puts you in kind of a weird situation. So I don't want to spend too much more time on England. If you guys have anything else to add on that, go for it. Otherwise, let's come back and join us in the Discord. We've got a lot of stuff going on. Fantasy Heroes is not over yet. You can still hop in and get a chance to win a kit. So join us in the Discord. We got, what's up, Nigel?
Trust me, whoever joins is going to beat me. I think my team's bottom after the first week.
Oh yeah, mine. I didn't have the best starting
Mine too.
lineup, and I didn't realize like how it locks for the match days. So like I still have Mbappe in for match day 2, which is not good for me. But let's go on to the match day 1 Monday and Tuesday. So again, I'll go through the matches. If you're listening on audio, we had Romania 3, Ukraine 0, Belgium 0, Slovakia 1, Austria 0, France 1, Türkiye 3, Georgia 1, Portugal 2, Czechia 1. Those were the matches. So I wanna leave. Let's set aside the Türkiye Georgia game because I want to put a little bit more energy into that one. But of the other games, what stood out for you, Nigel?
Obviously, I was in France for the France-Austria game. It was packed in this bar, the bar across the road where I was in the bar across the road that night. And France, they're a transitions team. They relied completely on transitions, completely on individual moments of brilliance, got away with it in the end. I thought Austria was great. We'd said in the preview podcast that Austria were the team who could really, really upset the apple cart in that it is a group of death because Poland are good, Netherlands are good, France are good, and Austria are good. And Austria are the ones who I thought might upset the Dutch-French possible ownership of that group. Austria was great. I mean, Konrad Laimer was brilliant in that game. He was brilliant. And that really started. But, I mean, Portugal, golden generation, were turgid. They were great. I mean, they were creating loads of chances, but nothing was happening. And then all of a sudden, Francisco Conceição, 93rd minute, whatever it were, late on, bang, goal. And all of a sudden, everything's forgiven. Ukraine just didn't turn up. Romania, I mean, that Stanciu goal, the first goal for Romania from Stanciu was just something different. And then, I mean, the one what shocked everyone was, I mean, we're kind of used now to Belgium really, really not turning up at major tournaments. They're great in qualifying, they're great in friendlies. It comes to a major tournament, bang, Belgium just fall flat. Belgium are the 2020 version of the Czech Republic in the 2000s and 2010s. Where they're great in qualifying, and when it comes to the tournament, fall flat on the face. Romelu Lukaku, yeah, there were 2 goals disallowed, but boy, that guy misses some chances. I mean, and the offshoot of that is everyone looks poor. Everyone thinks that everyone looks poor off the back of that. I thought Belgium had some standout performances as well. I thought the goalie played well, Verbruggen played well. I thought Amadou Onana in midfield was fantastic. I'm not. Trossard dropped a bit of a stinker. De Bruyne dropped a bit of a stinker. But there were some great performances around it. Carrasco, Castagna were really good. But yeah, Belgium. Wow, they're just not the team when it comes to tournament.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for sure, that they can't seem to get together with the quality that they have on the pitch. Ben, what stood out to you for these ones?
Yeah, I mean, you've got two. I think you've got 2 different patterns. Well, one main thing is speak a lot about with the internationals. It's about the togetherness of the team. Like, do they play as a team? And so often we've seen it. Like, you get a lot of expectation when you've got really good individuals, and it brings more pressure. And then can they all gel together? Then there's more pressure of like, oh, can't leave him on the bench. And I think you saw the different extremes with like France and Belgium, where they don't look like a team compared to Austria and Romania. Actually, Ukraine were one as well, where they've got some good individuals, but there wasn't really a cohesion throughout the whole team. And they've actually got a lot of players that I think are very good individual players, but like when it doesn't come together like that, that was an embarrassing game. Like, they were just completely outplayed. And Romania just from back to front, defending with their life on the line. There was some really good performances there. There was right back Ratiu, who's really good. I'm not sure about his hair though. He dyed it like, is it like blue or purple? Or, I can't even remember now. Was it pink? It was some bright color. I just remember that. But yeah, he had a really good game. And the Tottenham centre back Drogosin as well. Again, he's one of these players where he's used to playing in a lower block. So when he just has to defend in this box, he's really good at that. And just kind of taking on that leadership, for the team. And then in attack, they've got a guy who plays for Parma. I've watched a little bit of this season called Dennis Mann. A really good right winger, comes in on his left foot, and he was really good as well. So I mean, generally that togetherness with the team, and I'm now looking at them, like, if they can pick up at least a point in one of the next 2 games, which is pretty doable, they might be one to get through. From Belgium's point of view, I was a little bit, to be honest, one of the reason why I spoke about Belgium was it depended on how they selected their team, and I think there was some players missing from the team defensively, especially. They went with Wout Faz. I've never been too. I'm not sure about him. He's never looked that consistent, and when he's played against better defenses, he's always looked a bit shaky. Seems quite error prone. And they've got a defender on the bench, plays for Rennes. I don't even know how you pronounce his name. Arthur Theati, I think. And he's really good. I'm surprised he didn't play because I had Zeno Debas next to him. And the issue is both of them are young centre backs, but they play a lot older than they are. And I think you would rather play those guys and De Kuiper as well, at left back. You'd rather play these guys than the aging ones that they don't look very. I don't know. They look like they're the old generation that they're still playing and they shouldn't be playing. Like, you're playing Carrasco at left back. Like, not sure about that personally. So there was a few, but there's some good performances around. I thought Onana was good. I thought Bakayoko, when he came off the bench, looked good as well. Apenda as well. It's just that thing with Lukaku with missing chances. He's always going to miss a load of chances. And then look at it and think maybe if they just played Openda instead, he's going to get all the chances that Lukaku would because of his movement. And he's probably going to score more of them. So it's an interesting one. But they need to win the next game, otherwise that's it. But yeah, I think those were the standout games for me.
Absolutely. I think it was interesting the Portugal setup. I was a little bit confused as to why Martinez went with a back three. Nigel, did that make sense to you given the personnel, or did that surprise you as well?
I didn't have a clue what we were doing. I mean, it was a back five most of the time. I mean, I'm sure at one bit, and Ben might correct me, but I'm sure I saw Nuno Mendes playing at the centre half, and I was like, "What is going on here?" It was absolute wild. No Neves, just. I think Martinez had just seen how many players had got and thought, let's just throw the names up in the air and see where they land, and that's what team will play. It was. Oh, Scotland just nearly scored by the way. Over the bar. But yeah, I did not get it.
Yeah, no, he was playing left centre back. I have no idea why, but yeah, it was a weird lineup because he's a wing back. He's not defensive at all. He's full on flying down the line. So I didn't get that. And then also midfield, they had, I think it was Vitinha, Bernardo, and Bruno. Like they're all like 8-10 type players. Like little guys against physical midfield. I'm not sure what was going on there.
Yeah, it was really bizarre. When I saw that, I was like, who what is happening? You have one of the best squads, one of the most technical people to pick from, and this is the best option?
I just couldn't work out. Like Ben, I couldn't work out why Danilo Pereira or Ruben Neves or something like that was in the middle of a park. Wasn't in the middle of a park. They're up against Thomas Souček. Souček was a foot taller than everyone who were playing against him in the middle of the park. It was crazy. Absolute craziness.
Especially when you got the options, because like you think, like you just said, Pereira, they had Paulinho, João Neves, Ruben Neves. You've got four guys that could play that more defensive role. But no, let's just stack it with little technical guys. Like, nah, it just wasn't good. And this is the issue. It's same with Belgium as well. Like with these and with England, it depends how you play the players you've got. And I don't know about you guys, but I would really like to see someone unexpected win it. I just don't think it happens anymore. The last time was probably Greece.
Ooh, I think the one game what we've not mentioned yet, what I know that Matt wants to mention, I think a winner could come from this, and I think both of us said in the preview that this team, if they get it right, could be exciting. Matt?
Well, let's jump right into it. The game that we're talking of course, is the Türkiye Georgia game. So that was Türkiye 3, Georgia 1, in what honestly was probably the best football match I've watched in several months. Like it was end to end, but not in a like it was there was jeopardy, but it wasn't fully chaotic, right? You had periods where Turkey controlled the match. You had Georgia on the break. It was the crowd was amazing. The ref didn't get in the middle, like the ref didn't involve themselves in the game unnecessarily, right? So what did you guys think? Did you guys think it was as good as I thought it was?
I thought it was excellent. I thought it was so good. And previous to obviously the game started, the one thing what me, Ben, other people spoke about was that young attack of Turkey, Ardagula, just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Kenan Yildiz, brilliant. They were just electric. I mean, they've got more players on the bench. They've got Shemi Kilishoy on the bench. They bought Aktakoglu on as well. Behind that, they've got Çalhanoğlu, they've got Kokçu, they've got Kadioglu flying up the wing. It was proper football. It was proper football. And Turkey, I mean, people look at what Ben mentioned, Wout Faes earlier from Leicester. His old defensive partner, Kaglar Soyuncu, yeah, Pete, completely opposite. You look at Turkey's bench. Turkey had Demirel on the bench. They had Kilisho on the bench. They had Aktakoglu on the bench. They've got firepower and they've got resources. If Vincenzo Montella works out that he can't play Yilmaz as a centre forward, he needs to play Kilisho, who's Ben can deep into this. He's Besiktas's Wayne Rooney. Yeah. If he plays him up front instead of Yilmaz, I reckon Turkey could go all the way. They could be vicious Greece because them guys are going to score goals. They will score goals.
Well, seeing as the names from the Turkey team came straight out of your Twitter feed, Ben, why don't you tell us more about what you saw?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with Georgia. I actually thought Georgia still were quite good, though. There were some nice performances from quite a few of the players, and Turkey were definitely the better team. There's no doubt. But there was some moments where Georgia really turned it on as well. And there's the striker Mikhail Tadze, I think it's how you say it. Some of the names, I'll be honest, I'm probably going to butcher all of them. But yeah, Mikhail Tadze, he looked good, and he's interesting one because he played at Metz in the second division in France, then went to Ajax, didn't really get much of a chance, also didn't play the best when he did, then went back to to Metz on loan, and I think he's joining permanently as well, and he's carried on his form like before, and he just seems like a player. I'm pretty sure Burnley tried to sign him before Ajax got him, and he's one of those I could see him doing well at a different team. But yeah, he's exciting as well. And then they had a midfielder from Levante, Kocherashvili, I think. He was everywhere. And the interesting thing with him, apparently not long ago, he wasn't even. I actually spoke to Georgian fan, funny enough, and he said that the guy wasn't even like that highly thought of not long ago, and wasn't really in the team. And he's kind of come back and he was everywhere, covering every blade of grass, tenacious in all the tackles, and then getting in the box even. He almost scored, I think he hit the crossbar at one point. So yeah, there's some interesting players there. And obviously you've got Mamardashvili and Kvaratskhelia as well that were just like the two of them could carry Georgia. And I think they were unlucky to not get anything from the game. But in the other two games, you start thinking maybe if Portugal aren't at the best, they could get something there. But yeah, them aside, Turkey seriously good. I mean, they've got so many guys where they've got this like fearlessness in them. Like, when I've watched them, there's a few of them I've watched a lot of Yildiz, Juventus, and I was like, I'm just waiting for this guy to get a chance. I'd seen him when he was a bit younger, like youth level, and I was like, give him a go. He's playing for the national team, and he's not even made his debut for Juventus yet. And then he comes on and scores on his first game. And since then, every time he plays, he's always trying to take on players. He looks exciting. He's in the face of players. And you look at Arda Güler, was like the main guy at Fenerbahce at 17, running games, creating, pinging shots in the top corner from 30 yards, taking on 3 or 4 players. And then even some of the guys on the bench, like Kiliksoy, he's not played yet, but again, we're talking about this guy who's like 18, and he's got, I think, about 12 or 13 goals this season for Besiktas, and he's only coming to the team later on. Like, he didn't start the season playing every game, and when he came in, he's just been so impressive. And again, another one, so young, but they're not bothered, and they've got that aggression in everything they do. If they can get it right, it's going to be exciting no matter what. Whether they go all the way or they just get out of the group or they don't, every game is going to be exciting with Turkey.
Yeah, it was, and I don't want to sell Georgia short either. Like they were exciting. They moved the ball really well. You saw Kvaratskhelia carrying the ball, and you could see his dribbling, and you can see why he's wanted all over Europe, and why Napoli are trying to tie him down to a new contract with a release clause. Um, it was a really entertaining game, and as somebody who mostly follows Germany and supports soccer, it was nice to have a game where I wasn't invested in the outcome and I could just sit back and then watch an amazing match.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Kakabadze and Mamadashvili were two standout players for Georgia. I thought Mamadashvili was great in goal. I mean, he made some good saves. And I think he highlighted why teams would want to pay 30 million, 35 million for him this summer to try and get his services. Kakabadze was the other one. I thought he, for a player who I'd not really, hardly ever seen before, I thought he showed up real well, real well.
Actually, there's one other guy for Georgia. I can't. I think he's Gotcha Kachvili or something like that. I can't remember. He's played right back and he plays for Shakhtar. And I remember this. I don't know if you've seen this season when they played Barcelona. It was like man of the match that game, and he's been really impressed. I've not seen loads of him. I've not watched all the Shakhtar games or anything, but I'd seen a bit, and he's someone who can play on both sides. And I'm like, that's transfer window wise, I feel like he will be picked up, and a load of for Georgia, Turkey, and Romania. They're where I think teams are gonna, even like championship teams, even they might pick up one or two.
Yeah, and you touched on it, but Arda Guler, I mean, that guy looks like the real deal. Like, you have these players who they get hyped up by Fabrizio, I mean, and you hear about them so much that you're like, all right, like I get it. Like you're getting paid to promote him. That's a joke, Fab, that's a joke. Please don't send me a cease and desist letter. But you see these players who get these hype trains, right? And he got his big move to Madrid. And I don't watch La Liga in and out, but he played some minutes over there, but he wasn't starting every week, right? And so you're like, okay, it'll be a couple of years. They'll integrate him. They'll give him 1,000 minutes. They'll give him 1,500 minutes, and then he'll have his breakout. And then you see him play in what's clearly a really good Turkey team, and he's the man.
There is one thing about Arda Güler, and I might have to check this stat, but it's a stat what I was shown. Arda Güler had 6 shots on target for Real Madrid last season, which resulted in 6 goals. He had 1 shot on target in the Euros, which has resulted in a goal. So, if that stat is actually correct, he's had 7 shots on target in this football season, and he scored 7 goals.
Yeah, in a row as well. Yeah, that's
crazy.
All at the end, yeah.
Crazy.
And I mean, the what he was involved in, like obviously he had that amazing goal, but he had a couple of passes that would have been pre-assists, right? Like the shot was missed, he passed to the guy who would have gotten the assist, and he's just like unlocking the whole team. And again, like we're talking about age, he's 19. Like this is not normal. It's not normal for 19-year-olds to come to the biggest stage, to boss their national team, to play as the number 10, and to unlock all of these passes and then score a worldie. Like this is not normal. It's amazing.
One of the things with a guy like that young as well, the interesting thing when they come from certain leagues, a lot of the time people are like, oh, it's just the Turkish league or whatever. But when you're that young, breaking through as the main guy for, say, in the Turkish league, some of the South American leagues are a bit like this, even in France as well, the crowds are so hostile. Like, it's like nothing else. It's not like in England or even Spain. So when they go to these leagues, it's almost easier in terms of the atmosphere, but then the level of obviously their level of football is a different level. But yeah, seriously, like going from that, and he's just taken on every last bit of pressure constantly, and just straight away just adapted like so easily. But you look at Real Madrid and throughout their team, you've got like Mbappe, who's the star for France, and Vinicius, who, I mean, he's not really for Brazil, but him and Rodrigo are like two of the main in terms of names. And then you just keep adding guys like Bellingham's pretty much the main guy for England. If you look around all the best teams there are in the Euros or the Copa America, the main player or the biggest name is normally someone at Real Madrid. So it's scary what they could do if they get it right as well.
Yeah, and I mean that's it. And then they added Mbappe, right? Because that's exactly what they needed, was the best player in the world to be added to their team, right? It's like the riches that they have buried over there is just crazy. But yeah, you mentioned we had barely briefly touched on Bellingham, and I thought he had a really good game as well. Circling back to the England game, where that dude, he's not afraid to for contact. He's like fearless. He receives the ball on the half turn, and he's getting two or three guys coming in and smashing him, right? Like shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip, every time he receives the ball, right? And but every time he's coming at it with the same intensity. He's never like passing the ball out or making a safe pass, right? He's always ready to receive it. He's always ready to make that turn no matter what's coming in on the other side. And you know, that is it's not something you can teach, right? Like either you have the want to, either you want to have that contact all the time and you accept that and you know that's part of the game, or you don't, right? And there's a lot of amazingly technical players who don't want it. They're gonna make that safe pass back instead of because they know the crunch is coming, right? And Bellingham really, um, he just relishes that contact, and he was playing so hard the whole game. Like, you know, it's the kind of players who really stand up to be counted in those big moments, right? And um, when you're playing suffer ball for however long it ended up being in for Southgate's England, like you need those guys who are willing to do the hard work and the dirty work. And I think Rice and like you said, Nigel Gahey as well, those guys really stood up to be counted in that match as well. So we are at 48 minutes now, so let's wrap it up. Do you guys have any final thoughts? We only had one draw for all of match day one, which I don't know if that's a Euros record, but it was pretty neat to have a lot of games with winners, and that sets up the tables in an interesting way.
I think as the one final thing what stands out for me was, apart from Belgium, every favourite won. Every favourite won apart from Belgium. Every other game you could have looked at and said that team's going to win, that team's going, that team's going to win. Even the draw, Slovenia Denmark, you could have probably called that. You could have called it because I really didn't see a winner. I didn't. I could. If you looked at the odds, I couldn't see a winner. And I think going into game week 2, I think we're going to see more of the same. Can Hungary really upset Germany? No. If Scotland turn up against Switzerland, can we get a result? Probably get a draw. But then, I think going through all the games, I don't see England losing to Denmark. France, no Mbappe. Might get it. I mean, the game of the week is on tomorrow night. Thursday night. It is Spain, Italy. Wow, that is going to be tasty. And for anyone who likes to have a little gamble, I've gone for both teams to score. No draw. Both teams score, no draw. I've gone for. So that's my little bit.
Yeah, and since this will be out on Thursday, let's just take a few minutes to go through the games of match day 2 that are remaining. So when this comes out, you'll have Slovenia, Serbia, Denmark, England, Spain, Italy. Those are the games for Thursday. And then Friday, Slovakia, Ukraine, Poland, Austria, and Netherlands, France. And then Saturday, Georgia, Czechia, Turkey, Portugal, and Belgium, Romania. So that's the rest of match day 2. Obviously, the Spain Italy stands out as one that's going to be really fascinating, with the players that we talked about already. You have England playing again, seeing if they're, from all the news reports, it sounds like they're going to put out the same lineup that they did from their first game. And then you have the Netherlands France game, which is two historic powers, and a France that's coming out without Mbappe. Will who's going to be up front? There's always the Griezmann. And the thing about France is that they just work so hard. They're like, they are like the prototypical blue collar team. For a team that's so good, right? The amount of work that they put in is crazy. And then there's the Turkey Portugal game, which we just talked about. Portugal, who didn't look great, right, against the Turkey team who's flying. Who do you think's going to come out on top of that one, Ben?
Oh, that's a tough one, because if Turkey managed to win this game, Portugal might be out, because it depends how the rest of the results go. I don't know what the exact thing would be, but they would have to win their last game, and then even so, does that put them in the right? I don't know. I'd have to have a look properly, but I think Turkey are going to get a result. Whether that's a win, I'm not sure, because the thing that's hard with Portugal is the quality they've got means you saw them bring on Neto, and he instantly made a difference, and then Jota and Francisca, and the options they've got on the bench could make the difference. I think the reason they didn't play well was because the team selection was wrong, not that the game plan was terrible. So yeah, I think I'm gonna say it will be maybe a high scoring draw, maybe like a 2-2 or maybe a 3-3. Either way, I just want it to be an entertaining game. I think if it ends up being end to end, we're gonna start seeing the best of the likes of Leao and Neto, these really quick, direct wingers. But then Turkey have got the answer to that as well, which would be interesting. I think the upset though could be the Belgium-Romania game. That looks interesting as well. Because you've got a situation now where Romania are going to put everything into that game. Because if they get a draw, that's probably enough to get them through. But if they win, then obviously they're through. So if they go all out for that game, I think if they put the same performance in, they could win that game quite easily. And Lukaku up against Dragusin as well. I can see him getting the better of him quite a few times. So, yeah, some interesting games. And like Nigel said, the Spain-Italy one should be good, because you've got some Italy now have actually got, you'd probably say, better ball-playing defenders than Spain, which is quite weird. You've got Bastoni, and then they've got Calafiori, Di Marco, Di Lorenzo. That back four, that's serious in terms of their on-the-ball ability. Not sure about the balance of the two centre-backs, which might be an issue, but they're against Morata, so they're not coming up against the hardest striker in the tournament. So, yeah, entertaining that one as well.
And just to add, for any Arsenal fans who might be watching this, for match day 2, just keep an eye on any player with a surname that begins with N for Portugal. That'll be the best way to do an Arsenal transfer watch.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. I'm excited about the Spain-Italy game. That's like football heritage. That's a classic matchup. And the Netherlands-France. I think France will come out on top. I just think that they have so much quality in their squad, and they have that next man up mentality. I'm interested to see if Georgia can get a win and potentially place their claim to one of those third place spots. And yeah, that the Turkey Portugal game, I don't know, man. I think I smell an upset coming. I smell an upset. It could be interesting times for the Portugal. When you have Roberto Martinez, it's always like rolling the dice as to what's going to come out of the lineup. What's that, Nigel?
I was just going to say, if Turkey get the result against Portugal, and I think they will, I agree with Ben. If Turkey get a result against Portugal, I think just the confidence what that young group of players could get with a young manager in Montella. And Montella's he's got it up there, Montella, yeah. He's won a World Cup. He knows exactly what he's doing as a player, yeah. I think if they get that confidence, they could go very, very far. Very far.
Yeah, well, it'll be a match day 2 to watch for sure. You guys will come back. We'll do a match day 2 wrap up here in a couple days and kind of preview the match day. We'll preview the see who's going to make it, who's qualified for sure, and then who's fighting for those third place spots. Thanks for joining us again, guys. Again, rest in peace to Super Kevin Campbell. Our condolences go out to his family and loved ones and anyone who knew him. A really good human and an Arsenal a fan, a Gooner from childhood. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for skipping out on an extra golf session, Nigel, on your holiday. And talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, cheers, Matt. Cheers, Ben. Thank you.
And again, please join us in the Discord. The link will be in the description after this. So join us in the Discord. It's not too late to join Fantasy Euros. We will have a shirt going out to the winner. You can use one of your wild cards to get the best team in there. And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks, boys.